Boys and girls, welcome to the Games XP Championship Week 2 match between No F's Given and Purple Cobras. My name is Hickory, and next to me is my good buddy Quasars. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I didn't know that you had a caster voice like that, so you totally took me off guard.
Oh, I can put it on if I need to. I appreciate it though. So let's I want to kind of get up to a little hype a little bit, right? Because this is a 2-1 game. Both teams rather are 2-1. They won 2 games last week. I think they lost 1 game this week. It's going to put them in the solid second place. It's going to be, the only other team is at 3-0. There's one right now. So I know you might have a little bit of a bias here, but just kind of looking at the players, who do you think is going to be able to sit in that second place spot by the end of this week?
Probably, yeah, I'm gonna have to say the Purple Cobras, just because they played against NFG last season, and every game they just kind of dominated them. And NFG, I casted one of their games last week. They just don't apply the lane pressure that Purple Cobra does. So eventually, that's gonna hurt them later on in the game. I feel unless they got their stuff together after their games last week, and they're actually starting to put in pressure in their lanes, then I think Purple Cobras are just gonna walk all over them.
So you see NFG as having a bit of a lane kingdom issue, as opposed to it's not that they're kind of faltering in the mid game. They're not really team fighting very well. You think that it's more about the first 10 minutes where they're just kind of losing a little bit too much ground?
Well, it's that, and they lose ground in their lanes, and if you don't win your lanes, then it's very hard to come back and win your team fights.
Sure, absolutely. Do you think that it's just a mechanical difference, or it could possibly be something to do with drafting?
Honestly, I think they just play a little bit scared or a little too passive. It's fine letting your waves push under tower if you're more comfortable like that, until you can see yourself getting an advantage in lane. But at the same time, it's if you're letting them apply too much pressure, then that can be problematic, because they can get a couple of hits off your towers and take those down early, and then they get a gold lead. And gold leads are really hard to come back from, I've noticed, in this league in particular.
Okay, well, we're going to see how it goes as we drop into draft. I have not been informed of any kind of situations where we're going to lose any bans here. I do not believe there are any subs. I think the subs being used are a part of the roster. So let's just run through the first 3 things. We're going to have a Gnar coming up. What do you think are some priority bans for both teams? We have NFG on the blue side and Purple Cobras on the red.
Well, with Purple Cobras, I would look into banning Zayfrey Zac, because he just doesn't seem as strong on any other champions in the jungle. And for Purple Cobras, or not Purple Cobras, sorry, NFG, they've already kind of got my team locked down. There's the Ahri ban for Fission, the Gnar ban for Cinco, and then the Blitzcrank ban for my support Desolate Earth.
Yeah, and on the other side is 3 tanks: Mundo, Ornn, and Cho'Gath. Is that a target ban?
It might be. I'm not really sure. I was in discussion earlier when they were talking about it, but I think they're kind of probably gonna single out the top laner, and maybe the mid laner as well, just to give Frisian an easier time so he can have the opportunity to roam.
Sure, it makes sense. I mean, they actually are instantly picking up their top laner in Renekton. I kind of actually, when you started saying that they might be saving it, I figured it would have been a bit of a counter pick, but they seem pretty comfortable in that Renekton. I think I did see Cinco Gazer play Renekton last week, and it was quite scary. Brand to follow it up. Do you think that's going to be a mid-brand or a support brand? I'm guessing Morgana's support, but how do you feel about that brand?
Probably support, because I've never seen Frisian go off and play Brand before, so unless it's a new pick for him, then I highly doubt that it's going to be a mid lane.
There is the ADC pick Brand, but I don't know if that's as good as on this patch anymore.
No, I think Noodles might try to go with a traditional AD carry, seeing how last game was kind of a mess. I think they'd rather try to secure this.
Ooh, coming up with a Camille and a Darius from NFG. Gonna be diving in as much as possible. I really, really like that. How do you feel about the Darius and Renekton matchup? I feel like a lot of bans were set towards the top side and they come up with a Darius as opposed to a tank, do you think Renekton's going to feel pretty uncomfortable, or we might get poked out a little bit?
Um, I think Single will be fine, honestly. Because he does CS a lot better than most of the top laners in the league. So I feel like as long as he like keeps up or gets ahead in CS, then he'll be able to have the items to kind of go head to head with Darius and lane.
Sure, makes sense. Win lane, win game. We have a Veigar to finish off the first picks. Last few bans coming in going to be a Fizz, obviously targeted toward that mid lane. Wonder what they're going to come up with NFG, especially since they've been a little bit more varied in their bans. They have a mid laner, they have a support, and they have a top laner all time picked out. Jax is an interesting choice as there hasn't been any showing of the jungle at all from Purple Cobras. What would you kind of like to see it for the jungle to round out this kind of brand Veigar, this kind of bursty composition with Renekton?
I'm actually not entirely sure what my jungler plays. I've only watched that one game where he played Jax, so I mean it's as much as a surprise to you as it is to me at this point. But he might go with something a little bit tanky, seeing as they do have the Darius and the Camille.
Yeah, it is a pretty squishy lineup, especially with the Yasuo thrown in there. They're going to be looking to either get killed or kill as fast as possible. That kind of leads me to believe that the Veigar's going bot lane in that case, the Veigar brand, because I'm not certain why you would want to have a Yasuo brand. That doesn't sound as comfortable. We're going to have to see what the next two picks from NFG is going to be. It's going to be a Corki and probably an Alistar to run things up, but that's odd because I kind of assumed that the Morgana would be the support. Is Morgana mid a thing now?
I mean, I've seen it a couple times, yeah. So, I mean, it's not as popular as support, so.
Interesting. I did hear she was getting some buffs recently. I don't know if they haven't gone through just yet though, so can't imagine that's what's going on. And you mentioned a tanky pick. Trundle would be pretty solid. I also like Sejuani here. I would say that's a little bit odd due to Trundle's subjugate kind of allows him to be much more of an anti-tank than a true tank. And there's not the biggest lineup from NFG outside of the Alistar. Obviously, Darius is kind of a bruiser, but he's not, the Mundo, the Ornn, the Cho'Gath. It's a little bit desynchronized, in my opinion, to ban out 3 tanks and then come up with a anti-tank jungler, but that's neither here nor there. Can you give me a couple win conditions for both teams while we load up to the game before we go to our break?
Yeah, Corki, he can be pretty terrifying in the mid lane. So if Slivering Dingus knows how to play Corki and knows what he's doing, even against the Veigar, Frisian's Veigar especially, like he could still like poke him out and get help from his jungler and kind of like shut Frisian down if they really wanted to. But because he's so terrifying, I don't think that they're gonna go that route. That would help them though. And for Purple Cobras, like they have a good amount of CC as well. So if they could capitalize on that, so the Yasuo can go in and do damage, get his knock up before they come out of that, then getting the Yasuo fed would help Purple Cobras out a lot as well.
How do you feel about a couple of these summoner picks, by the way? There's only one teleport in the game, and the bot laners are using Ignite and Exhaust, respectively.
Well, the Corki Cleanse is a good choice against the Veigar, I feel. The Ignite on the top laners is very aggressive for both of them, so I don't think that that's going to be like a boring, CS poke each other lane. It's going to be more of like an all-in kill each other lane. Opposed to how you would normally play top lane. If they both decide to play aggressively, that is, it might be like a defensive, like, oh, if you're going to tower dive me, I'm going to take you out too, Ignite, but we won't know that until they actually start to play. There's not really a knock up on the side of Purple Cobras, really, unless the Trundle Pillar counts. I'm not really sure.
Trundle Pillar into Yasuo is an amazing combination. Feels very, very comfortable.
Yeah, so that would help Noodles out a lot as well. So
it kind of seems like you're leaning a little bit towards Purple Cobras. So, and you had mentioned earlier that it was a bit of a laning issue coming out of NFG. Looking at this draft, what can they do to try and get through the laning phase, to try and get them into the mid game at a equal state, maybe a little bit ahead, and try and get to the team fight, the 5v5, as opposed to maybe individually falling down one at a time and kind of side lanes and 1v1s and 2v1s and things like that.
Yeah, well, the Camille is very mobile, and if Zayfray's actually really good about coming in behind the team for ganks. I've noticed. So that's probably part of the reason why NFG tries to, play passive and play back so Zayfray can come and gank from behind them. With the mobility of the Camille, that would definitely help them out. So if Purple Cobras can't keep vision behind them this game, then Zayfray could definitely come in with his Camille and just, his ganks could definitely get his laners ahead. And or at least even with Purple Cobras. And if that were to happen, then later in the game, like when they go to team fight, then it would be a little more even, as opposed to it being completely one-sided on the side of Purple Cobras.
Makes sense to me. Thank you very much for the insight. I think we're going to probably head our way to a break here really quick, see a word from our sponsors, and then we get right into the game in just a few moments.
My name is Tim Borseth, and I own and operate GXPC in Decorah, Iowa. GXPC is a geek paradise. We carry everything from Pong and Atari all the way to Xbox One and PS4, and all the games that would go with those consoles as well. We also carry a ton of movies. We have handheld games. We have Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. We have D&D and Pathfinder. We carry Warhammer 40K. We have a vintage Star Wars selection. This place is great. My wife and I have had 6 kids, and they are so much fun to work with here at the store. They run the store as much as I do.
And we now repair cell phones, game consoles, computers, and small electronics.
Our store is instant fun. Not only is there cool music and cool stuff to look at, but we have a game room that is so much fun. It's free to play, and you just plug in your game system and enjoy life. The GXPC motto is bringing joy to people's lives through our products, people, and a place to play. So you have got to come to Decorah, Iowa, and check out GXPC and experience this geek gaming paradise.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. On the blue side of the map, playing for No F given is Juicy Big Red in the top lane, Zayfray jungle, Slibbering Dingus mid, Songless bot, and rounding it out in support is J is for Penguin. In the red trunks, playing for Purple Cobras, we have Single Gaze in the top lane, Friction jungle, Frisian mid lane, I'm not going to mess that up at all, Cero Noodles playing bot, and Desolate Earth rounding out the composition into the support role. And we have just kind of a standard line of scrimmage here. Do you want anyone to kind of, make any moves here in the early game?
Honestly, I don't think that it would be to either team's advantage. I saw Frisian already get a poke on the Alistar for his extra little bit of gold in the beginning. So I think neither team wants to initiate a fight here. Frisian just wants gold.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with getting as much gold as possible, especially in these early parts of the game. What do you kind of want to see from the starts of the junglers? I always really like jungle pathing in the first few minutes of the game. It's my kind of actually favorite thing.
I mean, I don't see a reason as to why they wouldn't start just like standard bot side. I mean, Camille benefits from the red buff, and Trundle really doesn't matter. His clear is really good, so.
Yeah, Trundle with that chomp can basically get through any of the buffs. I think actually I've seen him solo buffs pretty frequently, especially when in invading. I did see a ward go down from Juicy Big Red onto the red side red buff, just to get a little bit more vision, understanding where friction is. Just kind of know what we're doing and when we're doing it. But it looks like both junglers just kind of calmly going from buff to buff. Neither of them want to get that bot side Scuttle Crab. A nice trade from Cinco Gazer with the W auto attack reset. And I really like to see that, especially from Renekton or anyone that can auto attack reset. You got to get that auto, hit the W, auto again. It really gives you massive pressure in the lane. As you can see, he's already about half held down on Juicy Big Red, even though he's a level down.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to play a little bit more aggressive in the top lane. So I think those are both aggressive ignites now that we're seeing it play out, rather than the passive, like, oh no, you tower dived me ignites.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more people picking up that Ignite, especially in solo queue. He does get pulled back in. Ignite onto both of them. And it actually looks like Juicy Big Red's going to go down first blood instantly. Cinco Gazer is going to keep his life as he did flash away. I'm not sure he needed that extra flash, but it's going to be no summoners for Cinco Gazer. It's going to be a nice big old hit mark for Zayfrey. And actually, Zayfrey, as I say, gets there, flashes forward for the stun, instant kill. Very nice pickup, 1-1. A little bit down on gold because of the CSing and the first blood, but he does immediately know where he's supposed to be and when. Unfortunately, Friction was just a little bit slow to the play, but he did understand where he needed to be. Just a little bit late. Flash forward, headbutt, pulverize, under tower.
Ooh.
JS for Penguin gets a really easy kill onto Cerro Noodles.
Poor
Very,
Noodles.
very nice. I don't think he was expecting that flash.
Yeah. That was a really good play on the side of JS for Penguin there. You never really expect them to like use their flash to knock you under tower.
Yeah, absolutely. Headbutt pulverize is so much fun, especially when you do it in reverse. Pulverize, headbutt. Friction actually did drop a pillar of ice in the top lane to burn Juicy Big Red's flashes because he did have a summoner advantage until just then. It's going to make him a little bit more vulnerable to the return gank. Although it looks like Friction's just kind of chilling, clearing his camps. Zayfrey at the same time is actually looking for the second Scuttle Crab. I believe he got the first one. I'm not positive though. Must have been actually Friction because of the delay on the top kill.
Yeah.
There's actually a bit of a CS lead already in the top lane as Cinco Gazer goes forward, stun and knockback, but don't think he's going to be able to kill him just yet. Full stacks for Juicy Big Red is kind of scary. It adds a lot of AD.
Yeah, Cinco definitely knows like when to back off from the Darius.
Zayfrey dives in to the mid lane, but a quick flash from Friction gets him out of danger, rather.
Yeah, that was a very good cage as well. Like, he got both of them with that.
Pulverize on a Cerro Noodles, but this is a massive wave here. I'm not sure that Songless and Jay is for Penguin's going to look to go for this, but Cerro Noodles is going forward again. He's under the tower. Almost got headbutt pulverized under the tower. Instead, he just takes one shot. A little bit aggressive there. I don't think he does have his flash right now as Zayfrey's coming around. Oh, just barely missed a stun, but Zayfrey is able to burn a flash. Zayfrey's been everywhere so far. He hasn't backed yet.
Yeah, Camille is very mobile, so she can definitely go in from place to place very quickly. So that's definitely a plus for Zayfrey, just being able to get across the map a little bit faster than Trundle. Because I'm pretty sure, what is that ability called? Her, the little hook shot thing that flings her across the walls. I don't know, I'm bad with names.
We can call it hook shot if you like.
Okay, well, we're gonna call it hook shot. Her hook shot goes and flings her across the map a little bit faster, I think, than Trundle's speed up ability. So.
Actually, speaking of, Friction is in the mid lane. He gets the pillar out, but it doesn't go into the stun. Incredible fancy footwork from Slivering Dingus. He takes very little damage, but does not get stunned. Zayfrey comes back for the return gank, but he's kind of out in the open as Slivering Dingus goes a little bit too low. Zayfrey's actually going to go down here, I believe. Chomp down, and Friction actually is able to pick up the kill. pretty nice for Frisian. He actually is a little bit down CS now, so he's going to kind of catch up with that gold. It's about 10 down. That kill is actually going to equalize him right then and there. Single Gears is going forward once again. He gets the stun off. Let's see if he pops Dominus. He does pop Dominus. He wants to get another kill. It's going to be a second or third solo kill, I believe. Ignite does go down, and Cole the Meek is going to be able to get him his 3-1 so far. 3 kills in 7 minutes top lane. That is feels bad man so far.
Yeah, Cinco Gazer is very confident on his Renekton, and he knows that he can get the kills. He knows that he can outtrade. And so he does, and people don't realize that he's gonna play like overly aggressive if he knows that he can take you out. So they kind of expect like, you know, trades, but he goes all in and tries and gets that kill as quickly as possible.
How is NFG gonna deal with it then? If he's so confident, what can they do?
I mean, they can send the Camille top and maybe have the Corky roam as well with the care package, but if he gets too far ahead when he pops his ulti, then, I mean, a whole bunch of damage is just going to come out from him. And Frisian, he's really good at roaming, so he'll probably follow his laner top lane, and it would be a 2v3, and then with the amount of damage that Cinco's putting out right now just to this Darius, like, they'd probably be able to 2v3, so it would be very difficult. Like, I think the only way they'd be able to shut down the Cinco Gazer is if Frisian were to roam bot and then Corky goes top to kind of deal with that.
Sure,
or if
absolutely.
Frisian just doesn't catch on.
Just 2v1 him, basically.
Yeah.
He's going to have a lot of power now with Tiamat finished. He's going to be constantly pushing in that wave. We're going to check in with the other waves a little bit. The CS difference between Frisian and Slippery Dinkus is still there, kind of minor though. But Desolate Earth has actually gained a little bit of a CS outside of that unfortunate tower dive that we don't have to talk about too much, but it's actually been surprisingly calm in the bot lane and the mid lane for looking at all these champions. Really been top lane focused primarily. I don't want to see where the junglers are going next, see where they want to set the plays up.
Looks like they're both trying to set something in mid lane, but they spotted each other.
Yeah, I wonder if they're kind of setting up around the top lane. How about pulverizing the bot lane onto Cerro Nunes? He does get ignited, and he's gonna get stunned by the by Sunless's ultimate, and actually a nice root as well. They might be able to get a double kill here. I'm not certain though. They're kind of running low on steam. Desolate Earth is able to walk away without his flash, but that was both exhaust and ignite used for Purple Cobras, and Songless used all of his summoners. It looks like bot lane is definitely the kind of strong point for NFG right now. Do you think they can probably win through it? Do you think they need to a little bit more, or is this the possible win condition as they're starting to pick up the Mountain Drake?
I mean, I believe last time they played, Cerro definitely gave them a hard time. So I think they might have like some sort of revenge team going on, because normally most teams focus Frisian in the mid lane, but they just don't seem to
Last
be
Whisper
doing
goes
that
in,
this
and
game.
he's on to Songless. Songless is actually going to go down instantly, and they're not able to pick up the dragon just yet. I wonder if Sarah wants to push this even farther, as Single Gazer is going to trade for the top. He pops Dominus. He is able to get the kill. I believe he slices, he dices, he calls the Meek, he flashes away, and outplayed by Juicy Big Red. Jeez! Sarah Noodle does zone the rest of the team as Purple Cobras is able to pick up the dragon. That looked like a really good dragon take. How were they able to? How was it able to be turned around from? I thought NFG had it easily.
I think just the amount of damage that Frisian was able to put out. You know, their support is kind of an initiator, and he was able to zone out the support. You know, after he already went in for that knockup, and they just weren't able to capitalize on him going in, and they lost him being able to, you know, participate in the team fight because of the zoning, and
It looked like a really good engagement to begin. You're absolutely right. The Headbutt Pulverized was on to 2 or maybe even 3, I believe, of Purple Cobra. But unfortunately, yeah, you're right. There was really not. It might be a bit of miscommunication as Slithering Deers actually ults in. He kind of wants to clear up this bot lane. Headbutt Pulverized onto Desolate Earth. It's going to knock him down instantly. They do get the stun on the Cerro Noodles, but I'm not sure they have the steam once again. Unfortunately, with this bot lane, it's kind of either we get the kill or we don't. So when they kind of blow their load, to excuse my parlance, they don't really have much to follow up. But another kill really nicely there. Slippery Dance had a good timing there. I believe Frisian was actually backing. He just wasn't aware of that play whatsoever. And it's really starting to kind of equalize this gold league and making a lot of pressure bot lane that Friction's trying to kind of help deal with.
Well, Cinco, after he got a couple kills off on the Darius, it looks like he didn't want to respect him anymore. And earlier he went down to both tower and, Darius stacks bleed. And he just needs to, like, even though he's been playing aggressive and, like, winning a lot of trades, he still needs to respect that Darius can do a lot of damage to him with, his passive and ulti.
Yeah, absolutely. Darius is a scary boy, but that being said, Cinco Gazer was able to pretty calmly pick up first brick for Purple Cobras. It's going to give him about a 2,000 gold lead. Nice kind of buffer here in the early mid game, especially with the Mountain Drake. But it looks like Cinco Gazer wants to go in. He gets the stun. He doesn't pop Dominus, actually. Interesting. He decided not to go in all the way, but he's turning back around. Does pop Dominus that time. Stun might be up soon, but here comes Zayfrey. Hextech ultimatum and the dunk, and they're getting him instantly. Really, really nice movement from Zayfrey. Absolutely at the right place at the wrong time. Right time.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about earlier, just not having the vision. Like, he did have River warded, but he didn't have that bush behind the tier 1 tower top warded. So if he had a little bit of vision back there, he could have seen the Camille coming in for gank and backed out, but instead he went back in. So
yeah, unfortunately those jungles that can get through walls, they make it a little bit tricky when you're trying to 1v1 your opponent.
Yeah.
There is still a noticeable CS lead in the top lane, on top of the solo gold. Single Gazer was able to pick up 600 gold for himself. But it kind of seems like Juicy Big Red's kind of stabling a little bit. Looks like, actually, in the bot lane, James Primer is not going to be able to get the stun. Actually, he does. Excuse me. Peppa Pulverite, perhaps? He's not actually. He's holding all of it. He's just kind of standing there awkwardly, taking a lot of damage. He pops his ult as Zero News wants to go back in. But there's the headbutt Pulverite, just super, super late. And Ignite's going to be able to tick for Songless as a fight breaks out in the topside river. But it looks like Slippery Deers might be able to get out of it. He does flash away. That being said, Single Gazer's not ready for the fight to be over, but that was just a really weird situation there with Jays for Penguin. It seemed very awkward. It kind of looked like his cooldowns weren't ready for him to go in. Single Gazer wants to stop the backs. He does get him. He's not able to get the stun. He's under 2 towers. He has to back out instantly. A slice away. That should give enough pressure for Purple Cobras to get this mid lane tier 1, which is so much pressure for your team. You can really just invade constantly. Friction is going to want to just get as many, probably this blue buff right now. He's want to take as much as he can. Zayfrey is really trying to keep his team alive, but without any pressure to farm at all, it might be a little bit too hard as they start up the Rift Herald.
Yeah, that was a good initiation from Cinco, and Frisian tried to follow up, but Corky actually had to use Cleanse there, so that's how he was able to get out of that, but otherwise they would have secured a kill if he had taken Ignite or Teleport or any other summoner spell. Yeah,
I would have liked to have seen the start of that play to kind of see what they were fighting for. It must have been the Scuttle Crab, I believe, because all of a sudden there were 6 players fighting in the top river when no one had really left lane too much before that, except for the jungle. It was a big root onto Desolate Earth. He almost goes down instantly. Wow, Songless does a lot of damage. Now they're trying to turn it back on Acero Nunes. The ultimate does come out. So does Last Breath. Let's see if he can turn around and get the outplay. I'm not sure he has the damage as Songless picks up a double kill. Zayfrey was able to get an assist on that at the very end. Might be able to get the bot lane tower as well. Kind of questionable decision making from the bot lane as Juicy Big Red does find Frisian. Frisian is able to stun him, but I'm not sure he actually is going to flash away. Like I said, I'm not sure he really has the damage to 1v1 this beefy Darius dude who's about halfway finished with his Trinity Force. What do you think about the optimization so far, speaking of? What are the kind of the first few buys for you feeling like?
Well, I know that, wait, you asked about buys?
Yes.
Let's see. Morgana
actually, there's an engagement in the jungle, and Songless is actually going to pick up a really good tilt, but that might be able to. That's definitely allow the tier 2 to go down. But I wonder actually if Purple Cobras wants to push the issue a little bit more, maybe get another charge. No, they're not. All right, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. There's a lot of action going on around.
Yeah, I think Morgana would want to go with, you know, probably Morelos maybe. And just because, like, you know, that's a pretty decent item on her. But she might do Zanya's instead, just for when she ults, because that's pretty common on her as well. But the brand, I would do like maybe a lead.
Actually, it looks like Serenus gets caught out for probably the second or third time. He does get dunked. He does get ignited. He does go down after a flash forward from JX Penguin. That's the second or third time the Cerro Noodles has been out of position just blatantly. And like any good solo queue Yasuo, he is 0-5, but he has a 4 CS lead. In my opinion, that is a winning Yasuo.
Yeah, Yasuo, he's just, I don't think he's really respecting NFG at this point. So he's just kind of like walking around because he feels like he can, and they've already shut him down, so he probably has the mentality that he's not worth anything right now, and so he can just, you know, kind of do whatever at this point and get caught up or try to get, you know, an item lead on the Morgana, or at least try to get caught up in items as Morgana.
Makes sense. You wanna cut your losses before they get too bad. That being said, the Cloud Drake was able to be picked up by Purple Cobras, pretty actually literally uncontested. And not sure what the decision making was there. There is a level difference between Zayfray and Friction. Maybe they didn't want to 50-50 it, but I was pretty positive that Yasuo's death would have been a free Baron for NFG. What's with the decision making there? What's the shot call to not go for the Cloud as soon as you get a free kill on a Yasuo?
You know, maybe they just like don't feel like they can deal with Cinco at this point, and the Trundle both in team fights, so they don't want to team fight.
Speaking of Yasuo, he does get flashed on by Juicy Big Red, instantly dunked. Another solo death, as actually Friction's going to be possibly 1v1 by Songless, who has a really great black shield to get out of the stun. Oh, but here comes Cinco Gazer, pops Dominus, stun onto Songless. Where does Songless go? What?
Yeah, and that's probably the reason they don't want to team fight.
Well, junglers are laning, so that's always a good sign. Looks like Friction is able to pick up the bot lane tower, get the third tier 1 as Juicy Big Red's kind of pushing in the top tier 1. We'll be able to get a 2 to actually 4 towers at this point if he's able to pick up it. Here comes Friction, does get the Pillar of Filth down, and a slow onto JX Penga, but actually Slivering Dingus has a lot of damage coming out, and JX Penga is not going down nearly as fast as they thought they would. They do not have a tower here, so I'm not sure if they want to go for too much more. But here comes Zayfray, pops the Hextech Ultimatum, not enough damage though, and actually a flash forward from Cerro Noodles, getting the knockup and the last breath, but actually Slivering Dingus gets out of it. This is the weirdest fight I've ever seen. Flash forward from Friction onto Slivering Dingus, is able to chomp him down, and somewhere, somehow, Songless is in the middle of 4 people, and he's going to get chomped down after getting a return kill onto Cerro Noodles. 1-7 for the Yasuo. That feels bad. Cinco Gazer was barely in that fight at all. It took forever for them to chunk out JS for Penguin, and he still doesn't die.
I believe Cinco picked up a kill on, let's see, after Songless, I think he picked it up on Zayfray. I'm not really sure. I just know he got a kill.
He did get Hextech ultimated, but then he just ran.
Yeah, he actually, I think he gained some health back after that fight and was able to get out. But he did pick up a second kill from that.
Well, he's 5-3, feeling pretty comfortable on the Renekton right now. Looks like he's getting his way to his second item, probably going to be a Titanic Hydra. And Black Cleaver actually came out from Juicy Big Red. How do you feel about that base instead of the Trinity Force? Is that a little bit more common right now?
Well, Cinco's building aggressively, so it might come out later. But I think that right now he just wants to, you know, get damage and health.
Sure. Juicy Big Red actually has been able to kind of close the CS gap a little bit as Slivering Dingus goes on to Desolate Earth. Instant stun. This is going to be another dead Yasuo. He doesn't have flash. He doesn't have anything. Actually, Last Breath comes out. He might be able to get a Draco. Whoa! He might be able to get a double kill. I spoke way too soon. I'm so sorry to my solo queue friends that are 1-7 on Yasuo. I need to trust them because they do get a double kill. So he's actually going to be equalizing pretty quickly. He's 3-7-3 right now, has the Phantom Dancer completed, looking his way to IE. As Friction wants to engage in the mid lane, he sees that his mid laner is winning, or bot lane is winning 2-1, but Zayfrey comes in, doesn't have Hextech Ultimatum, I don't believe, and actually Songless pops to Frisian, as people like to do to a Veigar. And it's a 1v1 between the junglers, but it's going to need a little bit more help there. Dunk coming out, Juicy Big Red, but he doesn't have multiple stacks. It does have Ignite. And it's going to be a very, very long engagement. It's going to be, wow, 3-4 in favor of Purple Cobras. Popping up the dominance from Secret Gazer in the top lane inhibitor. I don't think he's going to be able to get too much more here. You probably just want to see if he could 1v1 Slithering Dingus, who is a pretty squishy little corky right now. But with this backing of JS for Penguin, they are going to be able to hold on to this inhibitor. But the inhibitor tower did go down. 5-2 towers so far and about a 3k gold lead for Purple Cobras. Not actually as large of a gold lead as I kind of assumed with how much fighting's going on. And actually, now that I notice it, there's a 3-kill lead for NFG. Where did that come from?
I think that just because like earlier they were getting picks off on the Yasuo and on the Brand and on the Veigar, just when they like stepped out of place in the jungle, and they had I believe for a while they had better vision control and they were just capitalizing on that when they did. But it looks like Purple Cobras is actually starting to get their vision back up. They have wards on most of the entrances to the jungle on in River, but they're going down, so they need to work on replacing those so they can maintain that vision control.
It does look like there's a little bit of a tussle around the vision towards the dragon, which is going to be coming up in about 30 seconds. But actually, Sarah Noodles is once again out of position. He's facing a Juicy Big Red, full stacks on the Darius, and that's a dunk.
Yeah, like they're just getting picks off on Purple Cobras in the jungle, so Purple Cobras, they need to either get some more vision in the enemy jungle or just not go in the jungle without, like, you know, a buddy, do a buddy system.
I haven't seen Desolate Earth with Cerro Noodles for a very long time, but Secret Gazer is trying to slice and dice onto Slithering Dingus, but I think he's a little bit too squirmy of a little dude to get engaged on too hardcore. Secret Gazer is probably just going to stay top lane for the time being. There isn't any teleport, though, as this dragon is coming up. It's going to be the second Mountain Dragon of the game, but Secret Gazer does pop dominance. He gets the stun off, flashes forward onto Slithering Dingus, and the Ignite is burning. It's burning. It's burning. It's burning. It's burning. He gets, oh, he doesn't get away. The Culling the Meek does end up killing Slithering Dingus, and that might be able to get a inhibitor possibly in the top lane if you feel a little bit scared.
Yeah, Slithering Dingus is definitely a slippery snake, so he's been hard to catch this game, but I saw that Cinco, he tried to go in on him and then he left, Silver Dingus left, and so he had to leave and then turn around and go back on him a second time, just so he could catch that kill.
That dead mid laner should mean a pretty free second mountain for Purple Cobras. The amount of pressure the Cinco Gazer is able to produce is pretty phenomenal, honestly. I mean, he really just demands at least one or even two other players to be dealing with him, and he very frequently comes out ahead. As opposed to some things that we've been seeing in the bot lane, I would kind of like to see a little bit more grouping probably from Purple Cobras at this point in the game. They definitely are going to win fights how far they are ahead, but it kind of looks like Juicy Big Red is trying to 1v1 this Renekton. He does know the ult's down. He pulls him back, gets the full stacks. Actually, looks like... my mistake. I didn't realize the flash was still on Juicy Big Red. It was the Sterix Gauge pop that kind of confused me a little bit there. I thought it was Dominus for first, but I didn't think he had it left at the very moment. Cerno is going to get engaged on in the bot lane. Sliced, diced, knocked up, knocked around. I believe High-Stack Old Man is still up, and he's going to go down pretty simply. Kill given over to Zayfrey. Geez, Penguin didn't want to take it up. That's it's just got to stop happening. I don't know what to say about that anymore.
Yeah, NFG is definitely doing better this game as far as like stopping people from pushing, I feel, than they normally do. But at the same time, like, they're still letting people push. They're not reacting fast enough to stop them from getting towers. So we have lost all of the top lane towers for the most part, and then Noodles keeps trying to split push bot lane and get that bot tower, and because Frisian, Desolate, and Friction are trying to prioritize the dragons, they've been getting those and haven't really cared too much about the mid lane turrets.
Cleanse coming out, slimming Dingus so we can get away. Kind of just randomly face checked, excuse me, in the enemy jungle, and it actually was a dominance pop from Sync Gazer, but I'm not sure they can get more onto it. Morgana root onto him right on. He's taking Baron shots right now. The Stairs Gate does pop once more, but it looks like Friction pops his ultimate and trying to stay alive a little bit longer, but he's kind of just 1v3 right now. Might be a trade kill on the Slivering Dingus. Does go out of the top lane, but Friction does 2-for-1 actually, as Juicy Big Red is able to pop Cinco Gazer, but I'm wondering if NFG can get out of this. Nice route from Songless, might be able to disengage the fight. Comes out 2-for-1 ahead for NFG, probably as Purple Cobras is trying to look towards that Baron. It still looks awful at first.
Yeah, I don't think Purple Cobras is going to go for the Baron just yet. They tend to kind of avoid that, I've noticed. It's just not a priority for them. Like, yes, it's a good buff to have, but they'd rather get turrets and get picks than to go to Baron. And typically they don't really do it unless like only 1 or 2 players on the other team are up and they know where they are. And
Turret flashes between Frisian and Zephyr. I'm not really sure about Zephyr's flash there, to be honest. I think it was a pretty nice takeaway from Frisian, who's a very, very squishy dude, but that was an odd flash. I knew he did look like he was going to get stunned, but I didn't think that he would have died by any means, having gotten stunned.
well, Viger is really squishy, so if Camille decided, to ult, which is actually up, then that would have been an easy pick for her. But yeah, Purple Cobras doesn't really target the Baron unless they feel like they have to.
Looks like Jace for Penguin's actually kind of caught up here. He was standing on a ward. He's pretty tanky, though. He isn't going to pop his ultimate just yet. Does get stunned. I think he'll be out, but a little bit of an awkward situation. Dominus was popped by Singer Gazer, but he's actually 2 levels down all of a sudden on Juicy Big Red. But the Stairs Gate might be able to keep him alive. Where's the dunk? Is it going to be enough? I don't think. Oh! Just barely. Juicy Big Red is able to win the 1v1, but at the same time, Zephyr just got caught out. The ward control from Purple Cobras is starting to be pretty problematic. As Songless gets caught out himself, he has to pop his golden. Friction just wants to keep going because he knows that he's got a team behind him. Songless is able to, or Sarah, excuse me, is able to kind of get back at the people that have been bullying him so far. But he doesn't actually, he did the KS a little, kill secured for the Yasuo, but it's quite all right. And it does look like they might be starting to work their way towards Baron. Perhaps you did mention that they're not too fond of it, but a double Mountain Drake composition means that you're going to absolutely shred Baron at 30 minutes. And with 3 people down on NFG, I think there's kind of no reason not to go for it right now. Cernos is trying to go forward. He gets exhaust off onto Slivering Dingus, flashes forward, is able to finish him off pretty easily. Didn't even need to use his ultimate, but he did use both of his summers at the same time. And Juicy Big Red had actually caught out once again. Is stunned up. Is stunned once again. And he's going to go down really easily. That's a big shot down.
Baron. Yep.
I didn't realize he was at 9-4 right now. That should be a free Baron for the side of Purple Cobras. I don't believe Safer is going to be able to get into this whatsoever. Nice pickup and a pause as soon as we pick it up. Okay, so we know that there was a Baron buff on Purple Cobras with a pretty substantial 5k gold, not massive, but a pretty substantial gold lead and a decent tower advantage. They got 2 towers, most of them being in the top lane. Now that NFG has lost the Baron, after this pause is up, what can they do to get back into this game? How can they equalize this 5k gold?
Well, the Renekton actually isn't building armor right now. He just started to, so he has nothing for the Darius or the Camille. So if they put both those players on Renekton, that will shut him down. And let's see, with the Vigar, he's squishy. So if Camille could jump on him or if Corki could jump on him, that would be an easy takedown for them. Noodles is finally trying to get caught up. So, if they could like CC chain him, take him out relatively quickly, then that would help them as well. But those are the main 3 I feel like they have to worry about. The Trundle CC is also, helpful to winning those team fights. So they just need to be cautious of like where the pillar is about to go down and kind of predict where that's going to be and move out of the way of it as quickly as possible if they do get hit by that.
So what I'm kind of gathering here is that you're feeling that NFG needs to kind of work towards picks to kind of slow down the Baron and hopefully just kind of equalize things. Now, we've been seeing a lot of picks already coming out of NFG that seems like, at least to this point, fairly possible for them to do. We've seen Sorrow Noodles and Steel Gazer just be kind of a little bit too happy with their pushing. That can really slow down a Baron buff. That can really kind of turn your Gold League lead around, especially as we get into these later death timers. 15 levels, 16 levels, 17 levels. You start being dead for about a minute at a time. That's a pretty easy dragon take or a tower take. Are you getting a little bit nervous, or are we still good on the Purple Cobra side?
I feel like we're still good on the Purple Cobra side. I just feel like NFG is not really prioritizing the right people in the right order, and they're getting a little bit too much damage getting dealt out in team fights when it could be prevented. So I feel like unless they start having Darius target the Renekton right away and try to like take out the Vigar before he can ulti, then they'd have a chance of coming back easy, but I don't see them doing that. Like the Vigar is getting harder to pick off because his teammates are peeling for him, and Sarah Noodles, he's able to get his knockup and his ultis on before they can effectively take him out. Now that it's like getting into late game and he's doing damage, and yeah, so they just need to kind of figure out who they're going to prioritize and in what order, and like take them out in that order. Before their team gets chunked too much and they start losing those fights.
Who is the biggest threat right now for both sides, basically? Who do you want to be 100-0ing?
Let's see. I feel like Darius is a big threat right now just because Renekton hasn't built very much armor against him. And like he can easily, get multiple kills off in a team fight if they just aren't focusing him. And on the side of Purple Cobras, I'm going to say that either the Vigar or the Yasuo is starting to be a little bit threatening because Renekton and Trundle are both working on peeling for them. And I've seen a couple of good brand stuns as well that helps them get out of situations where normally they would die if those stuns missed. So between those two, it's pretty tough right now. So one of those two, I would say. But
Sure. Then I guess kind of following that, as we've mentioned that Juicy Big, Cinco, Frisian, and Sarah, they're pretty scary on either side of the team. However, we're starting to make our way to the late game, and we started to kind of run into the situation of some champions do not scale very well. Obviously, Silvering Dingus on the Corki, he's an ADC, he's going to scale very, very well. Frisian playing Veigar is going to scale very, very, very well. Renekton, after one or two items, as we've seen, isn't too solid anymore. That being said, on the opposite side of the things, Yasuo, as he gets the second, third, fourth, and fifth item, is just as scary as an ADC in the later parts of the games. Do you think we're starting to kind of change our win conditions as we get later into the game, starting to kind of see which team has a kind of a differing advantage? I do feel like Single Gazer had a pretty large advantage in the early game, but is that advantage lost? Is it too late, or is there enough of a lead for Purple Cobras? And on the flip side, is NFG kind of getting ready for that late game kind of big wombo combo 5v5 team fights? We're going to win. We're going to push to the end of the game while you're still dead.
Well, before I did say that the Camille ganks would be a big factor into whether or not their lanes could, stay even or even get ahead. But now that it's getting into late game, she can't really all in as well as she could before because, everybody's building items and they have that a little bit more sustain than they did before with no items and, them all being squishy level 1. So the Camille, she just needs to kind of catch people out of position instead of like going all in for team fights, unless she knows that she can get a really good ulti off on like the squishies on Purple Cobra side, which would be the Vigar, the Yasuo, and the Brand. But she has to do that around the two tanks that are peeling very well on the side of Purple Cobras. So if she can't do that, then she might be a little useless in team fights, but at the same time, like she could be very helpful depending on like where she decides to position and who she decides to target. So it's really up to Zay on that matter of like who to, try to get out of the fight and if he can get out of the fight as well without getting picked off.
Absolutely. The right flank, the right ultimate can instantly turn a team fight, even from someone like a brand support. That ultimate's actually pretty scary when you start to get into the second and third item phases. So I think we've been kind of talking a lot about what the teams have been doing right, what they're going to be doing for the rest of the game. What is your summary of your critical points? I mean, clearly this is not a perfect game from either team. Not that it really should be. It's not exciting that way. We like kills. However, just kind of a couple quick things from either team. What could have put them in a better position right now in the previous, first kind of 15, 20 minutes of the game?
Yeah, Purple Cobras, their team fights are actually pretty sloppy considering that they're all solo queue players and they've come together to play on a competitive team. So they don't really have good team synergy when it comes to team fighting. So a lot of the times, like someone will go in and then, he might not have follow up, so he has to back out. And he's already taken like half his HP, has to, go and regen a little bit before he can go back into the fight. And it's just like people are popping in and out, and you're not having like a solid team fight on the side of Purple Cobras. And with NFG, they were better this time about applying their lane pressure. Like they definitely improved on it from what I've seen last season, and then also some of their games this season. But they're still not, rotating enough and stopping those split pushes on top or bot lane. They're just not fast enough when it comes to reaction to that. So that would be a key point for them to work on for future games, is just, trying to see where the enemy team is and try to get there to contest, a turret going down, just so it doesn't go down. There were a couple of unnecessary turrets that went down on the side of NFG, and it's just because they didn't have the right people in the right place and the right time to contest it.
That makes sense to me. Sounds like a little bit of a communication issue. You mentioned that they were all solo queue players. It takes a while to build up that synergy and really get things going in the 5-man. But what was the issue with Purple Cobras? I mean, why were they dying so much?
It's just like they were getting caught out. They didn't have vision, and they were trying to 2v1 when they shouldn't be 2v1ing. Like they don't have the damage to deal with both the Camille or the Darius, or to deal with the Corki or the Morgana. And Noodles got caught out quite a lot in the river and in the enemy jungle when he shouldn't have been there to begin with. So it's just a matter of like knowing where you're supposed to be opposed to going where you want to be on the side of Purple Cobras, just to avoid getting picked off like that. Because NFG is up 2 kills, and really Purple Cobra should be up in kills, but it's just unnecessary picks are the reason that they're down a couple kills. I mean, they're still up in gold, which kind of makes up for it, but at the same time, like that's gold that shouldn't have gone to NFG in the first place.
Were these kind of solo kills? Is it a communication thing? Is it a warding thing? What do you think was leading to, for instance, you mentioned Sarah Knows be like in the jungle at the wrong time. Why do you think he was there?
I mean, like it's just vision control. There's lack of vision control, or there was at the time. They've actually put a couple wards down since then. But before it was lack of vision control, and then just not having respect for, the Camille or for the Darius or for the Corki. Noodles was kind of like doing his own thing and just not paying attention to where the other team was. And he got punished for it big time.
Is that a little bit of Lee syndrome on Yasuo?
I'm actually not sure. But it looks like Top had to restart his PC, which is why we're paused.
Yeah, I was actually hoping to get a little bit of a confirmation from production here pretty soon, because I do believe that there is actually a rule in regards to 15 minutes. So at 15 minutes, you're going to have to probably unpause and just play the game. But it does look like we're starting to get things set back up and good to go. I believe that we're starting to get the computers restarted. I'm very sorry about this technical difficulty, but we obviously want players to be able to play in the optimal situation. You don't want them, playing with lag too much, of course, as it is an online league. You don't want them playing with a broken mouse or anything like that. So it's going to get restarted. Should be here sooner rather than later. As I mentioned, it's actually 3 minutes left, and actually it does look like we're getting back in a game. Purple Cobras just got the Baron. Let's see if they can get out unscathed. Jay's probably going to let them do that. Alrighty, so let's get back into the game. A Baron buff for the 4K up Purple Cobras. We mentioned that really all they need to do is not get stalled out, not get picked off, and not really kind of throw the advantage that they have right now. Where should they be focusing? Should they be kind of splitting? Should they be grouped up, pushing down, A-ramming mid, or
I mean, if they
their
want to split, then they should probably send the Trundle, just because he's able to get out a little bit better than the Renekton. But other than that, I feel like they should just be grouped up. If they feel the need 100% to split push, then Trundle should definitely be the one to do it.
Doesn't look like split pushing is the way to go. 5-man on the bot side of the map. But there is actually a tier 2 both in mid and top. A pretty big wave pushing on the top side. They're going to have to knock this down pretty fast before it stacks up on their tier 2 too fast. But this is actually a pretty low tower. There's already a lot of chunk damage from both Cerro Noodles and Single Gazer. They might be able to pick it up pretty quickly. Not sure if Juicy Big wants to go in on that just yet, as Cerro Noodles does dash forward. Knocks up with the tornado, but he doesn't really feel like there's any too much more. I think just kind of showing where they're at. Demonstrating their domination so far, and reminding NFG that Purple Cobras still has a pretty sizable grasp on this game as they rotate towards mid to take the final tier 2. No engagement though. Very, very respectful from both teams.
Yeah, Noodles should not be down there by himself.
I was just about to mention something about Cerro Noodles being solo for the umpteenth time. For the time being, he seems okay, but there is an incredible amount of wards on the bot side of the map for NFG. He's probably going to be able to get out with his life, but that was a bit of a skipped a heartbeat or two there as soon as I noticed that he was splitting off.
Yeah, I think he just needed some gold to complete an item, because it looked like he was trying to back and then changed his mind. So yeah. I don't know if he's just trying to secure vision or what he's trying to do. But... Looks
like a 1-3-1 kind of coming out of Purple Cobras, trying to maximize as much of this Baron buff as they can. But we're gonna have to see what the response is. Like I said, there's a lot of vision on the bot side for both teams. But no one's really trying to deal with either Cerro Noodles or Single Gazer. One of them is gonna get their objective, as NFG's kind of just putzing around in mid lane. Single Gazer is on the inhibitor. Not sure he wants to kind of all in just yet. But that should put enough pressure for the rest of Purple Cobras to take the mid lane turret, or at least get some chunk damage with the cannon. Single Gazer does want to go into this. He pops his dominance instantly. No, he does not. Excuse me. Doesn't want to fully commit to it. As Jason Ping is trying to save this tower, but I don't think he's going to. Dominance does get popped from Single Gazer. Finally, does pop the Ignite as well. Flash away from Juicy Big Red. Flash forward from Single Gazer. It's going to be a pretty easy 1v1 kill. Not sure about it was a very odd decision making by Juicy Big, as the Hyper Pulverize onto Synchronizer, and potentially the Hextech Ultimatum. He doesn't actually need it. He does go down, but that is the mid lane and bot lane inhibitor almost instantly, as Single Gazer took, 3 players for him to be dealt with, as Friction kind of is feeling himself a little bit. He does pop the ultimate. And an ultimate, and an ignite, gets a single kill, gets a double kill. Where is Cerro Gazer? He's in the middle of 2 champions. Nice golden from Zayfrey. Didn't even realize that it has it, but the last breath is able to return kill. He might be able to get a double here, and looks like Cerro Noodles, is gonna go down. 1 member left, almost an ace actually for NFG, for only 2 deaths, and it's gonna be completely wiping the Baron buff, but Purple Cobras was able to get 3 inhibitors out of that. What's the next plan?
Well, on the side of Purple Cobras, I feel like they're just gonna try to group up and push those last two turrets on the Nexus and get Nexus. Would probably be their next play. Like after they get a pick off of either the Morgana, the Corki, or the Camille, I feel like are those that they're gonna try to pick off. And I feel like once they get one of those three, they'd be confident enough to try to end the game. But it looks like right now they're just trying to, you know, clear their jungle, get another, or get some gold to try to finish up those last few items.
There will be double super minions coming in all waves for Purple Cobra. It's going to force a lot of NFG to kind of stay back. There isn't much to be taken right now. It's a minute 30 on Dragon, a minute 40 on Baron. A little bit lucky for the side of NFG. They're not going to lose anything more, at least currently, unless you're right, one of them does get picked off. But if they're so far playing pretty respectfully and knowing that this really could be a make or break situation right now if they were to get picked off this first game. Never want to go down first game in a series.
They couldn't deal with the Cinco Gazer. On the side of NFG, like they had to send 3-4 people top lane, and meanwhile we already had Sero who showed himself bot lane, and we had I believe 2 players mid lane as well, or 3, trying to get that middle tower. And they got punished a lot for that.
Why do you think NFG didn't engage onto Sero Noodles as the?
Well, I saw that Slithering Dingus was pinging it, but none of his teammates actually went with him. It was just Slithering Dingus. Like a couple of them thought about it, and then they changed their mind and went back mid lane. I think just the threat of having 3 people mid lane and trying to get that tower.
Fnatic Bush as Juicy Big Red gets engaged on by 4 members of Purple Cobras. He's going to instantly down. That's the pick that Purple Cobra has been looking for. A nice bush setup there. Not any awareness of Juicy Big Red. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any. No, there's a blue ward. Sero Noodles might get caught out though. Hashtag Ultimatum should still be up. Plus Guardian Angel, but it doesn't look like they want to all in just that as Cinco Gazer runs over a few wards. That is going to be Dragon for the side of Purple Cobras as it comes up instantly, and potentially a second Baron with all 3 inhibs still down. Unfortunate pickoff from Juicy Big Red, but it might be exactly what Purple Cobras needs to kind of close this game out. That being said, there's still a pretty solid gold lead for Purple Cobras. Looks like about 8K right now as they're starting up the big old worm, and there goes that big old worm. That was breakfast for a little birdie. Don't know where I'm saying there. But the second Baron buff, and looks like the Infernal Dragon as well as a 4-stack, Elder Drake. It's going to be a pretty scary defense here for NFG. How are they going to make it happen? Quasar, what are they doing? How's it going to happen?
Quasar. I don't think there's I don't think there's very much that they can do at this point. Like, they have 2 Mountain Drakes, they have Baron buff. Like, unless they pull off, unless like Purple Cobras messes up really badly, or if they pull off like some miracle defense, then I don't think that they're gonna be able to save this game. Like, Elder buff is pretty scary in team fights, so I wouldn't want to. And then you have, empowered Baron minions with the double stack, and it's like
looks like Songless kind of wants to force the issue. He's going for it for the ultimate, gets his golden off, but he's kind of in the middle of nothing all of a sudden, and Slithering Dingus gets popped instantly. Only 1 trade kill for Songless, but I think the gold difference is just too much. The amount of damage that Purple Cobras can pop out with the 4-stack Elder, the Baron buff, the inhibitors down, there goes the turrets, there goes the Nexus. That's game 1 for Purple Cobras.
And 50 gold goes to Frisian.
Okay, let's take a deep breath. That was a fighting kind of game. Lots of kills. Clearly, there was a lead from Purple Cobras from the kind of beginning, but how are we going to turn it around for NFG?
Yeah, I think that NFG just needs to, kind of pay attention to their mini maps a little bit better. Like, see who's trying to push where and go there as soon as they see them trying to push. So, like this game, we had Sarah Bot, who was, trying to get that last tower and get the inhibitor on his own, and they could have easily sent 2 people there to try to deal with him, and they just didn't. And they had the Renekton split pushing top, and they had to send 3 people to go deal with him. It's just like, it's a matter of prioritizing who needs to go down first and then taking them down first so they can't split push or get those kills. So
is it complications in the draft?
I don't think it's more of a draft issue. I think it's just a communication issue. Like, they're not being clear as to like who needs to be taken out. So they're just kind of like going for, I think, whatever would make the most sense to them. Like 3 people mid, you'd want to go and defend mid, but in reality, you should be, going and taking out Noodles bot lane and then rotating up to, and trying to like have a team fight mid and take 1 or 2 of those out, and leaving Cinco Gazer for last because you need the most people on him. Like, they lost all 3 inhibs in that fight, but in reality, they should have lost 1 and maybe have their Nexus turret half health. If they had rotated properly and had done enough damage to who they needed to do damage to quickly enough. So, I mean, like, losing 1 inhibitor tower or like getting it half health and it having to regen is a lot better than losing all 3 of your inhibs and then giving up Baron and Elder.
Makes sense to me. Kind of lose the least amount, basically.
Yeah, you kind of need to prioritize, like, what is more important? Like, is it trying to defend this middle tower, or is it trying to, shut down their players and, maybe losing a Nexus tower?
Was it a little bit, man, this Renekton's been beating me up, I really want to kill him kind of sentiment, possibly? Or is it just a bad call?
Yeah, I think they just, they were kind of a little bit more focused on Renekton, because even though he's doing damage to players, like, he's one person split pushing. Like, you should be focused on, the weaker people that are split pushing, instead of the tankier one, because like tanks typically, like, they don't do that much damage, and even though he's building damage, it's still not as much as Yasuo, because he's building full damage, and you have Renekton who's building health and damage. So it's like, who's taking out those towers faster? Who do I need to take out faster?
That makes sense for me then. However, since we finished that game up, we're going to get into the next game here pretty soon. But before we get there, we need to have our sponsors let you know why they're so fantastic, why you should be here. Then in a few minutes, we're going to get the draft going in the next game. Welcome back, folks, to GXPC Week 2 between NFG and Purple Cobras. We saw Purple Cobras able to pick the first game in the best of 3. Going to go into the second game right now. I always like to see best ofs go to the last game, so I'm hoping for NFG to pull it back here as we jump into the draft. What are some pick bans? What do we need? Ban of Morgana, interesting.
I feel like they're gonna ban the Renekton this round instead of the Gnar, but Cinco's he's actually really scary on both, but it looks like they went for the Gnar instead. I would have banned the Renekton personally.
Still do have a few bans to kind of throw out there as Talon comes for the side of Purple Cobras, obviously looking towards Slivering Dingus. Talon is just such a monster right now, and the Ahri ban once again. I did see Frisian just pop off with Ahri last week, so I'm down for it, but you are right, that Renekton was something else.
Yeah, honestly, I think I thought that NFG would throw that out first, considering how much of a problem it was for them this past game.
Doesn't look like they're going to go for it at all, leaving it up through the first 3 bans. Obviously, Renekton can get first pick. I was going to say that he doesn't have to go instantly, but that's an interesting decision. They did eventually kind of get their way into kind of holding down the Renekton until you mentioned there was a little bit of just a missed call towards the end of the game. But at least for the kind of middle part of the game, they were able to hold him down a little bit. But he had such a lead in the early game that I'm not sure it's it's kind of worrisome. Malzahar is the first pick for NFG, probably going to Slivering Dingus, and then a Veigar comes out, potentially Songless or Slivering Dingus being like, "Hey, Frisian, I'm gonna show you how to actually play this."
Yeah, no, I didn't think Frisian was too hot on Veigar this game. Like, he hasn't played him in a while. And I do know he's trying to pick up a couple new champions. That's classified information, though, so I can't tell you which ones. But they definitely do feel like his Ahri is a big threat, even though he's not really playing Ahri recently. Like, normally the teams don't let him have it, so he hasn't been playing it in solo queue. He's been trying to, work on his other champions. So, a lot of the times we still see that ban, but he can't really play her anyway, so.
Picks up the Xerath and a Lucian as well for Purple Cobras. I like seeing the traditional marksman. I think bot lane was a little odd on last game. Could see Songless playing this Veigar, which he did seem pretty comfortable on the Morgana, which is banned out this game. Not seen him play an ADC just yet, but Lucian is very, very dangerous in the early game, or early portions of the game. Let's see what the last pick is. It's gonna be Graves. Ooh, I love Graves. He's so good right now. Surprised he's gotten through the bans.
Now, that could be Xerath support on the side of Purple Cobras. I did see that in the game of, I think it was Phoenix Rising versus Furious Gents. We had a Jhin bot lane and a Xerath support. So that could be in bot lane, or Frisian could pick that up because I know he does play Xerath here and there.
You a big sissy.
Looks like another Mundo ban from the side of Purple Cobras. They went for 3 tanks last game and then got the Darius pick. And a Braum coming out for NFG. They're trying to kind of snipe that support. They probably don't think that Xerath is going to be in the support lane with that Braum ban. And a Jax to round things out. As you mentioned, there's a pretty strong Jax player on the side of Purple Cobra, I've noticed. The last get ban coming from the side of the Purple Cobras is 10 seconds away. We will find out soon. What do you want on the ban? What do they need ban?
Now I'm angry.
That was what I was gonna say, the Alistar. My doggo interrupted me. Not sure if you heard her, but yeah, I feel like the Alistar was definitely problematic for Purple Cobras as far as laning goes, so that was a good ban on their part. But I do feel like Sero does a lot better on the traditional AD carries than he does with whatever is going on in the meta right now. So I think the Lucian was a good pick for them.
So why not run back the Darius? Obviously, it was pretty hard the first few levels, but he was able to get a lot of return and 1v1 kills. He goes for the Garen this time. That is Juicy Big Red. I mean, what about Garen in the Renekton makes him feel a little bit more comfortable?
I would say probably the silence that Garen has. Just, spin to win. He can't really do anything if Garen has a little bit of CC as opposed to Darius. Like, he did have the pull with the Darius, but that's not as crucial to stopping some of the abilities that Renekton's putting out as it would be with Garen.
Makes sense. We have a very, very engaged, focused jungler in this form of Lee Sin, and Nautilus probably is going to be that support. Pretty tanky, actually a lot tankier than Purple Cobras was looking at in the previous game, at least from the support position. What's the last pick? Is it a ADC, I guess, right?
I would assume so, unless, well, I'm my guess is that's a Malzahar support, so I'm assuming this would be an AD carry. A
Wukong. Interesting. That can go basically anywhere. It can go top jungle, mid, and ADC.
Okay.
And still got a few seconds to kind of move things around. There is, of course, the 20-second rule, but it looks like Malzahar for the time being is picked up by Songless. Interesting. How do you feel about Wukong and Xerath? That sounds a little scary. That's kind of spooky. See, your dog agrees. He agrees with me.
My dog does agree. Wukong is a little bit tricky, and one of Frisian's weaknesses is that he hates champions that go invisible. Evelyn, Wukong, Shaco, all of those he cannot stand, just because he always says, I can't hit what I can't see. And it proves to be very difficult for him just to try to, go against champions like that.
That makes sense. I cannot stand that stupid little clown either. Could you roll me through a couple of win conditions really quick while we get the game going?
Yeah, this time they definitely need to be a little bit more concerned about the Cinco Gazer or Renekton top lane on the side of NFG. Just because of what he did last game, I feel like if they don't try to shut him down a little bit early, then they're going to have some issues. But at the same time, Sarah Noodles is on a champion he's more comfortable with, and he also has a support that has a good amount of CC as well with the ultimate, which is a knock-up, and then the hook as well. So if they don't go and help the bot lane either, which, might be a little problematic on the side of NFG because they don't really have too much range as far as the Malzahar AD carry goes. Like, they do have the silence, but Lucian, he can kind of predict that, dash through it, I feel. So, yeah, they just kind of need to figure out, like, which lane is going to be a little bit more difficult for them to deal with and kind of shut them down early and then, rotate to whichever one is going to be, like, the second hardest to deal with. Frisian, he's not really playing very well tonight, I've noticed. So I personally wouldn't prioritize mid lane if I was on the side of NFG. And they do have the Wukong, which is going to be difficult for him anyway, just because of the invisibility champion issue with him that I mentioned earlier. So as far as NFG when conditions go, that would be it for Purple Cobras, the Lee Sin ganks. He can come in from behind, well, same as Graves, but he's a little bit better at it. He's faster at it. And then he has that kickback as well, where he can kick people under tower if need be. So if anyone's playing overly aggressive, they do have to watch behind them, kind of get some vision up to make sure that he doesn't come in from behind and, smack him around. The Xerath, they do need to be careful of the ult, get or be able to predict where Frisian's going to ult and kind of dodge that. And with Sarah Noodles, he does like to play aggressively. So if he's playing overly aggressively, he can get punished for that. But at the same time, if he does it properly, then he can output a lot of damage and kind of punish NFG as well. So.
Sounds good to me. We're probably going to throw it to a quick break as we get everything set up for the last few seconds. See you really quick.
My name is Tim Borseth, and I own and operate Games XP in Decorah, Iowa. Games XP is a geek paradise. We carry everything from Pong and Atari all the way to Xbox One and PS4, and all the games that would go with those consoles as well. We also carry a ton of movies. We have handheld games. We have Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. We have D&D and Pathfinder. We carry Warhammer 40K. We have a vintage Star Wars selection. This place is great. My wife and I have had 6 kids, and they are so much fun to work with here at the store. They run the store as much as I do.
And we now repair cell phones, game consoles, computers, and small electronics.
Our store is instant fun. Not only is there cool music and cool stuff to look at, but we have a game room that is so much fun. It's free to play, and you just plug in your game system and enjoy life. The GXPC motto is bringing joy to people's lives through our products, people, and a place to play. So you have got to come to Decorah, Iowa and check out GXPC and experience this geek gaming paradise.
Okie dokie, how's it going? We're back in the game. That was the weirdest intro I think I've done. I'm doing jazz hands, but you can't see it. So, it's game 2. NFG's got to make it or break it right now. Keep in mind that this is the battle for second place in week 2. Both of these teams are 2-1 right now. They're gunning after a 3-0. Or actually, they're gunning after the team that is 3-0. They can't clearly get 3-0 logically. It looks like a bit of an invade coming out of Purple Cobras instantly, but that is a pretty little ward right there.
Yeah, and Bagger is going to get a little bit of extra gold for that poke, I believe.
Pop Spell Thieves, pretty nice. 10 gold. Easy peasy. That's just going to allow Purple Cobras to just kind of calmly back up. I wonder if the NFG could have baited that a little bit more and kind of let them come in. Not sure really about the level 1 potential of a Nautilus. Definitely not a Braum by any means. And it actually looks like a red start for both junglers. Interesting decision making. I kind of wonder if Graves on Zayfray is gonna instantly go for the Raptors and maybe kind of wrap his way up around top. We saw so much pressure from Cinco Gazer. I really hope that Zayfray really focuses on Juicy Big Red, because once Juicy Big Red got a couple kills, a couple items, he seemed a lot more comfortable. It was just the first few levels he felt very scared, honestly.
Yeah, Zayfray might decide to actually go around and get red, wolves, blue, and then go down to bot lane to try to, get a kill on the Lucian as well. But it looks like Frisian's actually doing a good amount of poke mid lane to the Wukong.
Yeah, a little bit of a overzealous. Oh, there is a Lee Sin in the mid lane. Instant flash from Slivering Dingus. Doesn't want to mess with that at all. Really nice summoner blown from Friction, but it does face check at Graves. Zayfray gets to pop once, twice. Nice smite onto the Scuttle Crab. Might allow him to heal up enough. Zayfray's just going to push him off, but that does give him a free Scuttle Crab. As Slivering Dingus does go back onto Frisian. That is a big electrocute proc, but a flash forward from Cinco Gazer to get the stun off. Ignite off as well. Another flash forward from Friction. Wow, these guys have such similar names. It's kind of scary, but Garen is still level 1. He flashes forward, doesn't have Ignite. He already used it. Gets the first blood onto Garen, but I'm not sure why Zayfray's still there. All of a sudden, it's 2v1. Ignite does go down, but I don't think Cinco Gazer is going to die here. I doubt they're going to dive level 2 under tower. Oh my god, they're going to do it. Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's dead. He's totally dead. Oh, he's dead. He did get the kill, though. That's a 2-1 Juicy Big Red. That's a complete opposite of last game.
Yeah, so they're definitely playing a little bit more aggressive, it looks like, as far as top and mid side goes.
Nice hook from Desolate Earth. Not sure there's going to be much follow-up, but that was really weaved through the minions.
Yeah. It just, oh, there's a stun.
There is a stun, but not enough for a kind of 100-0 so far from a level 2, level 3. Veigar's going to need a couple more levels, a couple more items. He's playing support as well, but that's going to be completely zone Lucian. He's going to lose a lot of CS, maybe even lose some experience here in reality, depending on how far he's pushed back. But a slice and a dice from Cinco Gazer. Doesn't want to all in just yet. He gets his press the attack proc, but Garen Garen's a bit chunkier than Darius is the first few levels. He's feeling pretty comfortable. I like the new fancy skin, by the way. Was he playing the same? No, he's playing Dunk Master, which is the only Darius skin, excuse me. I don't even know why they make new Darius skins anymore, because why would you not go Dunk Master? But here comes Friction on the wannabe Insect. Doesn't get the kickoff. Is in level 6, of course, but he's going to push off Juicy Big Red, get a little bit more pressure back for Cinco Gazer, who is getting bullied pretty significantly this game compared to last game. It might be actually Friction that's going to be focusing the top lane as opposed to Zayfray, as Zayfray is very aggressively trying to counter jungle. Not so sure about this, as Friction is here first, and Slippery Near is kind of nowhere to be found. He's going to get away with his life.
Yeah, it does look like the silence is, you know, giving Cinco Gazer some problems top lane. Just because, like, when he decides to go in, Garen immediately silences him. So he can't do that burst damage like he wants to.
Yeah, and with the E, with the spin to win, he's actually doing quite a lot of damage after the silence, although a decent trade back from Cinco Gazer. But keep in mind that Garen can heal basically like a Warmugs. Step forward from Slippery Dingus. He's got so much damage on that Wukong with a quick electrocute block, gets back out, almost dodges out, a little bit damaged back, but he's feeling pretty comfortable on these trades. Serenade is feeling very scary around this this stun lane here. He's against a lot of CC for a traditional ADC.
Yeah, I do see, actually now that we're in game, the Malzahar and Vigar working together.
Here comes Zayfray onto Cinco Gazer. Is what I was looking for a little bit earlier. It's a pretty easy kill, pretty easy pickup. That's 2 deaths already on Cinco Gazer, who, remember, has not been running teleport. Should be a pretty nice back timer for Juicy Big Red. And a lot of pressure is being lost in this top lane for the, dare I say, star top laner.
Yeah, he's definitely having some issues.
Stun on to Cerro Noodles. He might just go down instantly here. No ignite just yet. Actually, it was a very just simple trade from the side of NFG. This bot lane for NFG has been very, very solid all throughout, and they knew they didn't have to even all in, and they're going to probably pretty solidly win the next few minutes of this lane. Pretty massive CS lead currently. It's probably going to start turning into a bit of an experience lead the more and more Cerro Noodles gets pushed back farther and farther.
Yeah, Noodles is at the point where he needs to watch that stun.
Here comes Friction. Flash forward from Desolate Earth and Ignite onto Jays for Penguin. It's probably going to go into instantly, but it might be a trade kill. Is Sunglasses able to pick up a kill? Not going to be able to pick up the next one, but a nice kill and a ultimate forward from Slippery Dingus. I'm trying to remember what the name is. It's not coming up. Probably going to be able, Friction be able to get out with both the shield and the flash, but only an ignite used on the side of Slippery Dingus. I kind of wonder if waiting for Zayfray a little bit longer would have guaranteed that kill. As it kind of looks like Friction's getting a little antsy here with Desolate Earth. Oh, nice hook! That's going to be a pretty dead Zayfray.
And good follow-up ulti from Frisian as well. He was able to get a little bit of extra damage off, but I think he did end up running out of mana because not all shots were fired there.
I was actually almost a 5-man collapse from the side of Purple Cobras. They really wanted to get something back after that. I wouldn't say botched bot lane dive, but a pretty uncomfortable trade for a 3v2.
Yeah.
Oh, look at Cinco Gazer. Juicy Big Red is doing exactly what Zayfray did in Cinco Gazer last game. That's a lot of damage coming out of Juicy Big Red. Didn't even use his ultimate. That being said, Cinco Gazer didn't use Flash, didn't use Dominus. He felt like he can comfortably get out of it, but that's a surprising amount of damage for a phage-only Juicy Big Red. He's going to probably be going for that Black Cleaver, right?
Yeah, Cinco, he doesn't really like to build tank Renekton at all. He really likes to go for complete damage, and I think that with the Garen bullying him like he is, he's gonna have to go and get cloth armor or something to help his sustain in lane, because right now he just doesn't have very much.
You think like a Ninja Tabai pretty early to keep feeling a little bit more healthy?
Yeah, something like that, just to get him a little bit of armor.
Another stun down on the Cerno. It's like the 3rd or 4th time he's been hit But here comes Friction for one more time. Flash out from Songless, but actually Hook goes on to Jace Penguin. He does not have his flash. This is going to be a pretty easy kill. That's a lot of pressure for Friction on the bot lane. He's barely even farmed outside of being in bot side. He's just kind of given up on Cinco Gazer after like 2 kills. This feels bad. Trying to go forward, but here comes Zayfray. Zayfray does get ulted by Desolate Earth, flashes away. Everybody's going to disengage. That's a little bit antsy from Friction. Might have kind of gotten bullied there a little bit. There's a level advantage for Juicy Big. He's just going to keep out-trading Cinco Gazer for the time being. I don't think Cinco Gazer necessarily wants to go on this. He might have the damage. He pops Dominus. Doesn't have a stun because of the silence. Juicy Big Red is on the retreat. Flash forward. Instant flash from Juicy Big Red and an ignite. Where's the ultimate from Juicy Big Red? There it is. Nice outplay from Juicy Big Red. He is going to live. Is Cinco Gazer getting a little tilted?
I think he just really wanted that Garen. But Cinco doesn't really tilt too much. He just kind of gets frustrated and kind of misplays sometimes, but he normally like collects himself and, you know, gets back to doing Cinco Gazer things. So we'll just hope that he doesn't, you know, make too many misplays until he recollects himself.
Sure, absolutely. You can't fall behind too far. Looks like blue buff was picked up by Friction. Doesn't want to give it over to Frisian for the time being. I wonder if Friction actually wants to engage on this. Zayfray might be able to pretty easily disengage though, but I think that should be a Scuttle Crab going for the side of Friction. We'll see what Juicy Big Red has to say about it though. And here comes Cinco Gazer at the same time, but that's an instant roam up from the mid laner, Frisian, and it looks like Zayfray is just going to have to run away. He doesn't have flash, and he's going to go down from the Q kick from Friction. And another stun hits Cerro Noodles. What is going on? Looks like the... Wow, actually the Solo Crab was by the side of NMG, surprisingly. That's a level down Cinco Gazer. First time we've seen that probably a while, but what is Slippering Dingus doing? He's roaming up top. He does get out of there, but Cinco Gazer's waiting for him. I don't think he has the ult. He does have the ult. Flashes forward onto Friction. Not sure he has the damage, though, as Juicy Big Red's trying to give him some help. Does get stunned up and goes down, but the suppression onto Cerro Noodles. He probably gets out. He pops his heal. He does get out, and we didn't see it, but J is for Penguin did go down as Desolate Earth is able to clean up the kill. Not sure what the engagement was. Unfortunately, we don't have fancy replays, but it looked like it possibly was a botched engage. Jace Penguin went down with both summoners up, though. Not sure what's up with that. There's not a massive amount of CC on the side of Serenos and Desolate Earth outside of the kind of hook stun. A little bit unfortunate to see a 0-2 there pretty solidly for the bot lane.
Yeah, no, Renekton did go back and get cloth armor. And even that alone is really helping him out against this Garen. They just had a little trade top lane, and he didn't come out as injured as he was earlier.
Yeah, a little bit of armor can go a very long way as the side of Purple Cobra is starting up the Mountain Drake. Been pretty lucky with these early game Drakes so far. I don't think it's going to be contested by NFG too much. Graves is kind of walking that way, but it's going to be a pretty big hustle to make it all the way there. And it does look like Friction is able to pretty solidly, comfortably pick up the dragon.
Now, I'd like to point out top lane. Cinco isn't too far behind in CS. Like, even though he has to kind of like play a little bit more passively than he's used to and kind of stay away from the Garen, he's only about a wave down. So that's not the worst for him. I feel like he could easily get caught up as long as Garen's not overly punishing him.
Yeah, even though he's died a couple times and doesn't have teleport, he's surprisingly close in CS. And 10 is a lot less of a lead than I was kind of expecting Juicy Big Red to have at this point.
Yeah, Cinco's doing a really good job at at least trying to keep up.
Oh, that's a big old ultimate. Dominus does get popped. The Ignite's burning him. I think he's going to get away, but he's going to have to instantly back, and that tower's going to take a lot of damage. That could be the CS lead that we were just mentioning. That trade right there.
Yeah.
The bot lane tower is actually very, very low for Purple Cobras as well, and FG is probably going to want to push this down. Kind of interesting to see an ADC get lose more tower damage than the double melee, but it could be that double range versus the range melee composition that is coming out of this side of Purple Cobras. And actually, Frisian has come top. It looks like a bit of a lane swap between Cinco Gazer and Frisian. Maybe they're feeling pretty uncomfortable with Juicy Big Red up into Cinco Gazer this time.
Yeah, and I feel like Frisian would also feel a little bit uncomfortable with the Wukong as well, just because he's not entirely sure how to deal with it, as it's a top lane champion more so than a mid lane champion.
And you just saw from the damage right there, he might ignite forward and ult. Flash forward from Friction. Here, where's the ult? He doesn't get it. That's 2 ignites onto Cinco Gazer within a few seconds, and he doesn't die. But as you mentioned, they're pretty unused to the damage coming out of Wukong. A lot of damage. He already does have Duskblade completed. Pops that W, and he gets 2 hits of it instantly. It's a pretty scary mid laner for only being 1 kill. It might be Zero Noodles getting stunned. He does get out just in time.
Yeah, and he did get a QSS for the bot lane as well. He just popped that. Zero Noodles, that is.
Yeah, it's an incredibly early QSS. I like it. You need a QSS versus Malzahar no matter what. Looks like Zayfrey is trying to kind of help them get this first tower, but with Cinco Gazer here, they might not be able to get it just yet. Zayfrey does get ulted on by Desolate Earth, but he's probably fine unless he turns around. Okay. 4 for the side of Purple Cobras in the bot lane. Let's see what NFG can do to kind of counter it. I don't think this is gonna be a kill. Flash forward actually from Juicy Big Red. He does have his ultimate. He also doesn't have Ignite. There's the ultimate, but not a lot of damage actually, as the turret does go down. First brick for the side of NFG. About a 400 gold deficit for them in this laning phase, as they are a few kills behind. But that top tower, it's close to going.
Yeah, Frisian did have to pop barrier there as well, so he's now down barrier and flash.
I'm surprised by the lack of damage from Juicy Big Red's ultimate there. I felt like it was going to do a lot more. It didn't look like it was going to kill, but it looked like it only did about 10% of Frisian's health, who should be quite a bit squishier than Cinco Gazer at this point in the game. Could have been the same time that he hit the shield.
I think it was. I think Frisian was a little bit late, but
there's still 3 bot for both teams. It looks like Purple Cobras really wants to equalize this turret score, but that's a 90% health bot lane tower. Not sure about the decision making, as Cinco Gazer does try and engage onto Slivering Dingus. A pretty, not a best trade actually for Cinco Gazer, who did start off that trade. Slivering Dingus's damage, it's really, really scary right now. He does actually have the Ninja Tabi as well. There's a lot of AD coming out of the side of Purple Cobras. I like that atomization. Feeling he can 1v1 a little bit more, maybe even 2v1 potentially, as this tower is quite a bit lower. This tower seems a bit more stealable than the bot lane.
yeah, I think Noodles is just trying to apply some pressure because they know that with 3 people mid that they're probably going to send someone there. And the Vigar is mid to kind of help them out with the wave clear, it looks like.
Is Lucian going to be a little bit easier for Zero Noodles to not get stuck in these 1v1 situations? Because as you mentioned, he is by himself.
Yeah, I feel like with his QSS is back up, so I feel like Noodles has the confidence to stay bot lane by himself with the Malzahar and kind of 1v1 him. But I feel like
Desolate
as soon as I feel like as soon as Vigar or someone else goes bot lane, Noodles is gonna have to feel like he has to back out.
Seems like Danger Penguin is staying mid lane for the time being, as Zayfrey and JC Big are getting engaged on the top lane. That's a lot of damage going back. And this ultimate, once again, does not get the kill that I feel like it should.
Yeah, Noodles came up to help as well. Like, he left bot lane tower for that.
Earth running straight at them. Looks like Juicy Big's going to get killed instantly for that. Unfortunate that they weren't able to get the tower as dominant spot for Signators in the middle lane. But wow, where did that crocodile just go? Zayfrey stayed a little bit too late in the top lane, but it should be a mid lane tower pretty easily for the side of NFG. That's 2 towers to 0 right now.
Yeah, it looks like Noodles really wants to get some damage off on these towers, just because he probably feels like they just aren't capitalizing enough this game. So he's trying to get some pressure and, you know, maybe knock a couple towers on the half.
A nice Infernal is going to be picked up for the side NFG. They don't have their jungler here. Wow, it's actually a really interesting decision. I didn't realize, I kind of thought Wukong was the jungler for a second. This is going to be a free dragon for the side of Friction. Little interesting decision making. It's also going to lose the top main tower. It's, again, kind of an odd calls that we've been seeing in the kind of recent times. Oh no, it's Cero by himself. Yeah, Garen's really fast, buddy. That's a nice shutdown for the side of Juicy Big Red. It's about 600, 700 gold. It was a little bit what I was worried about earlier, as you mentioned. He's kind of trying to get these towers, but they're going to be able to equalize the tower score and still maintain about a 1k gold lead, plus that Infernal, plus that Mountain. I'd still feel kind of comfortable on the side of purple. Cobras, but you're giving up a lot of pressure to get where you are.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of need to start grouping up at this point. Like, Cinco can't do as much as he did last game individually, and then Noodles definitely needs someone to peel for him because Garen, Graves, and Wukong can all kind of jump on him. So I feel like this is a good point in the game to kind of start grouping up.
Nice flash forward from Cinco. That was a pretty tricky little dodge there out of Silver and Dingus. He should get up pretty easily. He baited like he was going backwards, did his mimic, and then actually went through Cinco Gazer, kind of tricked him up a little bit. Actually forced Cinco Gazer below his flash, which I thought was a little bit excited. The ultimate and the ignite does go down on Silver and Dingus. He might get out, but what is Juicy Big Red doing? He does flash out. That was a little bit aggressive. I don't think he was expecting to see so many players on the side of purple Cobras being right in front of him. Ooh, almost got the hook there. Could have been a pretty easy kill on the JH Penguin. He's pretty low level and he's pretty squishy right now. Juicy Big Red's still really far forward. Flash forward, tried to go the insect from Friction, but he's not going to get too much out of it. Flash out of JS for Penguin, and a flash forward Malzahar ultimate onto Cero. He does pop the QSS. He's getting an eye. He's going out of the way, but it looks like Zayfrey might get out. He gets his ultimate off, and unfortunately, Juicy Big Red just goes a little bit too forward. Zayfrey was actually plucked out of the fight. The Zeroth ultimate dropping onto JS for Penguin. He's probably going to go down here. So is Malzahar. Unfortunately, a nice Q forward onto Slippery Dingus, who was able to heal forward. Flash out, flash forward again. I need to catch my breath. Looks like they're going to have a tower. Maybe not. It looks like Desolate Earth really wants to force this fight. They're feeling the ace. It's coming. It's been clean so far. I think they should probably back out, but actually slice and dice. A nice golden from JS for Penguin. He's still going to go down, only delaying the inevitable, and it probably should be a kill here. 4-0 on the side of Purple Cobras.
Yeah, grouping up definitely did help them out because before they were kind of, you know, maybe about to fall behind, but right there they just made up for it.
I truthfully am surprised that their 5v5 is stronger, although it's kind of seemed like it was 5v3, v5, v3. And actually a hook onto Zayfrey is going to probably guarantee this tier 2 tower pretty easily. Very far forward for a low health Cero with no flash and no QSS, but I think he was just making sure they got the tier 2. It's now one tower up, a bunch of kills up, a bunch of gold up as well. We're 22 minutes in the game. What's the next step for Purple Cobras, and how is NFG going to kind of turn this thing around?
Let's see. NFG, I feel like they just needed to kind of deal with the the Lucian Cero Noodles. I mean, he's 5-2. The rest of them have like 3 or 2 kills. So, he's definitely like the most fed right now. And with his escape, he's kind of hard to lock down. Especially with the QSS too. He can just QSS the Malzahar ult. So, if he's outputting a lot of damage in team fights and able to get out, then you need to take him out.
Yeah, unfortunately, ADCs are, or fortunately, I guess rather, place than they were. You kind of could have ignored them about a patch or two, and I'm wondering if Songless might be a little bit behind the times picking the Malzahar. The Morgana looked pretty strong last game, but Malzahar's not really doing it for me so much, and you're right. Cero Noodles actually has picked up quite a few kills after the somewhat awkward kind of early game, the multiple stuns, the death or two. But ever since he's been with QSS, a lot more comfortable He's really been racking up a lot of kills. What's the next build? Is it Black Cleaver, right, with the Phage? I guess it wouldn't be Trinity Force, so it would have to be.
Yeah.
Juicy Big Red actually has a two level lead, now 1 level on Synchro Gazer. He's just kind of toying with his food right now. Not sure if he's going to be able to get this kill as a slice and dice for Synchro Gazer after the stun. Really nice really nicely timed there, and he dodges out on the Sonic from Friction. It actually could have been a 1v1 kill there for Juicy Big Red. It did force Friction to completely back off what he was doing, try and help Synchro Gazer. Amazing turnaround from Juicy Big Red from the first game and the second game. He's really making up a lot. He's really making up a lot of pressure, making up a lot of ground, and he's really been leading the fight so far for NFG ever since, you know, maybe that like 3rd kill on the first game, the 4th kill, something like that. He really started being, you know, the forward vanguard for the side of NFG, and he's looking to keep bullying Synchro Gazer. He doesn't have a tower, remember. It's a pretty long lane for a level 12 Renekton, but he does slice and dice away once again. Renekton's actually surprisingly mobile crocodile.
Yeah, I feel like the Lee Sin is actually missing quite a few skill shots this game. So I haven't really seen him make any big plays yet, so...
well, Quasars, unfortunately we all can't be Insec. I wish I could, but that's probably why I throw Silver League jungle games when I'm playing Lee Sin and should be playing Jax. It happens.
I miss all of the Nami bubbles. I completely understand how hard it can be, but I feel like he's not really hurting his team at this point, but when he starts to fall off, he might start to.
Sure.
So he needs to either get it together with the skill shots or start making plays now to try to help his team get a little bit more ahead than they already are.
Makes sense. Actually, kind of speaking, well, we might have engagement in the top lane. I do have a question for you, though. Synchro Gazer is going to delve on by 2 players. The Dominance gets popped, the ultimate goes off, and that's the damage I was looking for from Garen a little bit earlier in the game. Guess you just need a couple levels and a couple items to get it going. There might be engagement here. So the question that I was having is that you've kind of mentioned the Synchro Gazer, and we've seen is a very aggressive kind of carry-based top laner. Sarah Noodles, obviously the ADC is going to be not being able to play a tank. And Frisian seems to like to play his kind of assassins, burst mages. Juicy Big Red actually does engage onto Sarah Noodles, who he does have flash and his heal. And a nice kick, but it's onto the wrong one, I think. No, it is onto the right one. I even got baited there. Slivering Dingus goes down. There's the insect you were just mentioning. Flash forward actually from Friction. I'm not sure this is going to work very well. Zayfrey engages onto Sarah Noodles. Should be a pretty easy kill for the Graves. They might actually die in the process. Does get ignited by Desolate Earth, and I'm not sure exactly what happened to Friction and to Juicy Big Red. Juicy Big Red dodges the hook. He's so speedy, boys. Got his kicks on, but he just ran the wrong way. Right into the gathering arms of Synchro Gazer. Okay, so I'm sorry, but my question that I have to get out for the 3rd time. Since there's so many aggressive players on the side of Purple Cobras, should Friction be switching more to tank plays? He was playing Trundle, which I thought worked really, really well for him last game because it was able to set up the Yasuo, set up and help Synchro Gazer a lot, help in the mid lane when there's a lot of pressure. But here on the Lee Sin, you mentioned a few skill shots. I'm not so worried about the skill shots as much as the let's play 4 damage dealers and just hope that we kill them faster kind of mentality, which is, of course, the same on BFG, but they at least have a lot more utility in the side of Veigar and Malzahar, and even actually Graves and Wukong. So is a carry, a very aggressive carry-based champion in Lee Sin, the right drafting choice from Friction and the side of Purple Cobras?
Well, like I said earlier, Purple Cobras is 5 solo queue players that came together and decided that, like, hey, we're going to play in a competitive league, let's go. So if, Friction isn't very comfortable on, say, for example, the Trundle that we just saw.
Looks like an engagement on the Juicy Big Red, though. Sorry to interrupt. He gets hooked, he gets ultimate, but here comes the rest of NFG. It's a lot of damage from out of the Malzahar. Free kill. Wukong does take out the, actually it's 2 for 1 so far. The slice and a dice from Synchro Gazer is able to get 2 more kills back, 1 more kill on the Slimmering Dingus. Xavier does get caught out by Frisian. Kind of a disjointed fight there, but it comes out 2 for 2, 3 for 2 for the side of Purple Cobras. Nice snipe from Frisian right there to kind of equalize. It looked a little bit awkward there, but this kill lead has started to kind of balloon quite a lot. There's actually 2 Infernals now on the side of Purple Cobras. They've kind of sneakingly been taking leads this game. Not as flashy, not as verbose as the previous game, but they are in a very solid lead right now. 4K gold about where they were last time, with 3 dragons about where they were last time, but the kill difference is a lot more equalized. Not a lot of just random kills or deaths rather coming from the side of Purple Cobras that we did see last game.
Yeah, I think like just they got a little bit more comfortable in laning than they did last game. Like, well, with the exception of Noodles, because you saw like the silences were coming out and the Vigar stuns, and then Cinco. NFG actually decided to do something about Cinco before he could kind of get ahead like he did last game. So that was really smart on them. But now, they didn't deal with the Noodles quite enough, and he's starting to, scale and come back and output some damage. So now he's becoming more of a problem. So I think like NFG just couldn't win on that part. Because like if they go for Cinco, then Noodles gets fed, and if they go for Noodle, then Cinco gets fed, and Frisian is just doing his own thing mid lane, so they can't be 2-3 places at once.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're right. There was a pretty strong lead for Juicy Big Red at the beginning of the game, but the kill scores kind of equalized. The items have equalized quite a lot. They're itemizing actually quite similar. There's a decent amount of the similar item on the entire team that a hook onto Jace for Penguin. I'm not sure what he was doing there. Looked like he was kind of going for a ward, but that was pretty questionable from such a squishy support. And it might be Song that's getting engaged on here by Cinco Gazer. He doesn't have Slice and Dice just yet, but here comes Juicy Big Red kind of out of nowhere. But so much damage has already gone on his Song. It's probably going to go down instantly, and Juicy Big Red is left out 1 for 4. Left out to dry. He doesn't have flash. He doesn't have anything except for a Slippery Dingus coming in with an ultimate. I'm not sure they have enough damage. Zero Noodles was able to pick up the kill on to Juicy Big Red, and a death for Slippery Dingus means a 4 for 0 for kind of a couple odd just getting caught out from both bot side players. Both Jay is for Penguin and Songus. It's going to be a pretty easy Baron for the side of Purple Cobras. I'd be very surprised to see if Zayfrey is able to steal this. We'll see. He's kind of hanging around. We'll see what he's thinking. He's still hanging around. Not sure what it's at, though. Looks like he's getting kind of poked away by Frisian. That should be the nice Baron there for them. They're actually pulling off Baron to kill him. Whoa, that was a little bit low on to Friction, but Early Smite gets them the Baron.
It's good to kind of make sure that the jungler is picked off before you try to secure that.
Oh, no. That's the second time JS Penguin is cut off in the jungle, kind of out of nowhere. Songless does get a kill back. But that's 2 very odd positions for the support to be in.
Yeah, Desla's definitely trying to, get some really deep vision, I feel like, just because of like where he's at.
Certus almost goes down there, but a nice ultimate and countering from Desolate does keep him alive to get the tower, and a suppression actually from the QSS, but he does go down. I think that was Ignite. No, it wasn't, just the added damage. Nice return kill for Songless, but that's 2 kills and a tower that his team has given up kind of around him. The generic 2018 ADC lull kind of feeling. I have kills, but team seems to be dying.
It looks like for a moment the Frisian stole blue buff from Zayfrey.
Very nice.
With his ulti.
Good timing. You did see the ward, I believe, over there that just timed out. Nice little steal there. He's actually 6-1 and 12 on the Xerath. Kind of, as I was mentioning with the rest of Purple Cobras, kind of silently got to this point. That's a very, very strong mid laner right now as another Mountain Drake. Wow, that RNG is perfect. Double Infernal, double Mountain Drake. Exactly what they want. Not using the Byron buff probably perfectly, but that's pretty nice RNG there.
Garen's really out of position, but I don't think...
does find Frisian, takes a lot of his health out, but you're right. caught out in no man's land. Gonna get rotated on by 3 players, and it looks like Ceranos is gonna be able to pick up the kill, but it's dominating. Single Gazer is going to be taken out by JS for Penguin, actually, kind of out of nowhere, and it looks like Songclass is going to be left out to dry for the rest of his team, while Sibering Dingus tries to get out, but he doesn't have flash. He already burned it, and that's just kind of an example of a 10k gold lead there. Looks like it was kind of nice at first. Single Gazer kind of ahead of himself, but fortunately, the gold is too much right now.
Yeah, with the 2 Infernals and 2 Mountain Drakes on the side of Purple Cobras, it's going to be very hard to win team fights. It was like, even though like you might have better communication as a team, just because like they're down about 11k now, and then not only that, but
and they can just
the 2 Infernals
dive past Taros and give Noodle kills for free at this point.
Yeah, so they have Baron, 2 Infernals, and
Juicy Big Red is trying to come in. He's trying to turn this around. He does immediately gauge on the friction, but I'm not sure there's really enough follow-up for him right now. He's taking a lot of damage. And the culling goes up, doesn't hit his target, but here comes Frisian's ultimate. He's missing his target so far. Not going to be any return kills, but they are able to save the inhibitor for the time being. But here comes Friction. He really wants to turn this around. The Slivering Dingus ultimate's in. That's a 2-kill, double kill so far. Triple kill maybe? No, it's not going to be. So unfortunately, they don't get the rest of it, but they have totally kind of slowed this Baron buff down and held on to their inhibitor. So far, they've only lost 1 tower.
yeah, I think that was a good defense on their part, considering last game. They definitely rotated a little bit faster, and they were definitely able to kind of stop that push mid lane. So that was really good on the side of NFG there.
Was the dragon a little bit too early? Should they have gone inhibitor and then dragon? Enough time.
You know, I think they were actually pretty okay. I mean, I don't think they lost out too much by pushing mid.
Sure.
I mean, they still have the lead. You know, they still. I think they have 2 players with Baron buff still, but it's gonna go out soon.
It should be timing out here pretty soon, as Juicy Big Red does want to kind of give Cinco Gazer a little bit of a little bit of fisticuffs. Not sure he was actually engaged this just yet. Zayfrey was kind of hanging around, but no fight, as Cinco Gazer has gotten a level lead all of a sudden, kind of out of nowhere, and a bit of a CS lead. But it looks like the teams are kind of calming down right now.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to split push again, but I guess he feels like he's confident enough to try to fight this Garen again now that he's caught up, but he's still a little bit scared, it looks like, and
Zayfrey is going to be caught out in his own jungle. Ulted on by both Desolate, or by 3 ultimates. The culling is able to get Sarah Noodles the kill. That's unfortunate. He's just trying to farm in his own jungle, guys. Dominus is popped by Single Gazer. He's got 2 on him right now. Actually, it kind of looks like Slippery Dingus is bailing on this fight. Didn't want any of it, as Juicy Big Red is just kind of staying in this 1v1. I feel like this is a win for Single Gazer. He's just trying to hold him there. He doesn't even need to kill him, as the mid lane inhibitor does go down. Picked up by the side of Purple Cobras. Juicy Big Red might be looking for a flank here, but I'm not sure he's feeling it just yet.
yeah, Cinco's definitely feeling a lot more confident now that he's kind of gotten caught up.
Engagement on a Slippery and Dingus, but he does have the ultimate into the stun from Vhagar. That might be a dead Single Gazer. Does pop the health, excuse me, as Sarah Noodles does pop forward. That's a 11 kill. Lucian, who does pop QSS, goes forward, has a lot of damage, doesn't have his ult from far. Whoa, that was a long range Q from Friction. Doesn't get the kill, but he's probably going to pop it out. Golden, Jace for Penguin doesn't last very long. I wonder if this is going to be the end of the game right now. To be able to pick up the bottom lane inhibitor. There's already super minions in the mid lane right now, and 3 dead with 30-second death timers. This should be the end of the game. Let's see what Juicy Big Red can do. He's going to get ultimate on. He's getting stun rooted. Still rooted, ultimate back up, and he's just going to be CC'd down. There's just too much damage. He gets ignited, and actually it looks like Single Gazer is getting a little bit happy there going into the fountain. It looks going to be a nice 2-0 for the side of Purple. Cobras going to be solidly in 2nd place after the 2nd game this week. What went right there? Things were looking pretty good for NFG until about the 30 minutes, and all the Cobras just kind of flipped the switch. What happened?
I think that after laning phase, the Malzahar Vigar picks just, weren't working out as much as they had hoped. And then also, they kind of took their attention off of Cinco after they shut him down, and he was able to get caught up. Just like in CS, like he was actually ahead of Garen at the end of the game, and he also was able to pick up 6 kills at some point as well, just like probably from getting picks. And so just him being able to get caught up to Garen at the least was able to make him enough of a threat to where, NFG had to kind of watch out for him. And I think that they just had the mentality that, oh, we already shut him down, he's useless, even though it's late game, he has almost all of his items, and he picked up some kills. So I think they just didn't have enough
Enough oomph in their tanks
Yeah.
to push out the rest of the game.
yeah.
It was looking really good for NFG the early parts of the game. Much better. Massive improvement from the first game, which looked really rocky, really kind of scary actually for the first few levels. But it looked like a lot of the pressure on Synchro Gazer. It does look like Synchro Gazer can be held back a little bit. And I'm interested to see how the team kind of evolves around that through the rest of the game. Obviously, as teams are going to be watching these VODs, you're going to see how the games are going and see that he's going to be playing a lot of, Renekton and Jackson, things like that. They're going to start banning it out. They're going to start kind of, trying to focus top lane. As you already mentioned, Frisian has had a lot of his champions banned out, and while he did play pretty solidly this game, I didn't see him popping off last game like I did last week, where he was going, 12-1 and just kind of diving under towers jokingly with Synchro Gazer, basically just kind of running over people. And that's pretty easy to do just from a few bans. And I'm wondering if teams are going to start kind of focusing on this top half of the map of Purple Cobras, because NFG looked very comfortable in the bot lane until later in the game. They looked very comfortable in the laning phase of the bot side. That being said, I believe we're going to be working our way towards an interview with one of the players here pretty soon.
Let's see. It seems that
Quasar.
most of them are muted. Let's see. I kind of want to interview Cinco, actually, because he had a tough time and a good time. So
They're your boys. I'm going to leave it to you.
yeah, we'll pull Cinco up. I want to talk to Cinco.
How's it going, Synchro Gazer? Congratulations on the 2-0.
Yeah, it was well played.
Quasar, you want to lead us away?
Yeah, I'm gonna interview you, friendo. So I saw that the first game you kind of like stomped on top lane. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like, what was your mentality going into the first game, and how did you deal with the Darius and laning phase?
Well, it's just, I mean, I've been playing a lot of Renekton solo queue the past 4 or 5 days, and I know that matchup fairly well. Level 2 all in pretty much sums that matchup up.
Okay. And I saw that the second game you were actually having a lot of difficulty with the Garen, and that you had to lane swap with Frisian. What was going on top lane the second game?
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin. Is Garen is basically unwinnable as Renekton.
Yeah.
What about
now,
Garen? So unwinnable.
Well, his obviously his W reduces the duration of your stun. So when you're stuck in W animation, he can W and then Q you and silence you, so you can't dash away out of his spin. So you have to tank the majority of it. And while he has the damage reduction from his W going, you just kind of sit there and wet noodle him to death with your axe.
No, I saw that against the Garen, you were building Black Cleaver, and then after that, you went and built armor. Why didn't you get a cloth armor a little bit earlier than that for sustain? Like, did it not cross your mind, or did you kind of just want to get some damage out?
I felt like at the point of the lane, because I had got shit on pretty early. It was more important to just build the Black Cleaver, so if we did end up getting into any early game team fights, I'd have the armor shred for Lee. So the armor kind of went on the back burner.
Let's see. There was another thing I wanted to ask you. When you were team fighting, I noticed that in the second game, you weren't really doing too much damage because you were behind. Did you kind of realize that and like go to, get caught up and, come back in late game, or were you still, trying to just do your thing in team fights? Like, how'd you come back from, losing lane so hard to Garen?
A lot of it was split pushing, and Friction was kind enough to give me quite a bit of his jungle. And by the time that we really started getting into team fights, it was to the point where Renekton had already fallen off, and my sole purpose as a champion was basically just to die with their backline and die. Which I did a pretty good job, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, you definitely came back in that late game and helped your team out a lot, opposed to like mid and early game.
It's unfortunate. My opponent played pretty well, but at the end of the day, he's Garen, and even more useless than Renekton in late game. So I feel for him.
Got a last question, Quasar?
Nope, do you?
Alrighty, I think I'm pretty good. Cinco Gazer, thank you very much for joining us, giving us some insight on the matchups in top lane. Congratulations again on the 2-0. I believe you're pretty solidly in second place. Do you have any just like closing thoughts, anything you want to say?
Shouts out to NFG. You guys have improved significantly from the last time I saw the team. Good games.
Awesome, thank you very much, buddy.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
And on that note, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in for this amazing podcast. Thank you, Quasar, for being with me. I hope all of you have enjoyed it. I know that play-by-play is a interesting position for me to be in. However, thank you all for giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much for joining us on this nice 2-0 for our friends Purple Cobras. Hopefully, NFG can kind of turn things around in the coming weeks. Hope you all have a good evening. Thank you once more for tuning in. Make sure to hit follow and all those good things. See you next time.
Bye.